Guys, I hope that you got the rest that you needed. I thought this would be very informational and educational because we're all here to learn, right? Right. So we get into the ground laying of the agendas that's being pushed in our universe, the reason why our universe is thrown off, the reason why it's unbalanced, because we're all on different pages. There's no unity when everybody's in separate entities. That can never happen. It must be as one. But this will explain probably why, perhaps to you, I already get it, that things are the way that they are and what's going on in our world. Okay, when it comes to the divine femininity. Sorry, why celebrities keep pushing, agendas and things like that. It's intertwining with Mother's Earth plan that was first created. This is all um, educational purposes only. So please do come in, hit the like, share, and leave a comment and tell me what you guys think and what are you guys feeling. You know, just stay balanced and keep your focus and educate yourself. This is the best advice that I could give you, okay? So let's begin and pay attention.
By a feminine spirit. It is being dominated by a goddess spirit. That goddess spirit has begun to move itself into the lives, the families of everybody in this country and throughout the world. Let me warn you, when you walk out that door, you walk out into a culture that is absolutely opposed to everything that God says in that Bible. This is the kind of groundwork that is being laid. It is the groundwork of the goddess, Gaia, witchcraft, Wiccan, and all of this other stuff that's out there in the ministry today.
The groundwork is being laid. She looks so different on many pictures. It makes me wonder. Let's continue.
All over the world and all over this country that people are getting on a regular basis when they go to the church house.
It is the highest high, and it is surrender to the unknown. Different tools that I've learned in my life, from meditation to the Hoffman process. You're like really finding the love for yourself because you got to trust in yourself on this journey. And then you're feeling the love when you come down. So I feel really connected to that strong divine feminine right now.
A woman who's intelligent and also knows how to weaponize her beauty. There's nothing more dangerous than that. There's nothing more powerful than that. I feel like all women should embrace the fact that as the divine feminine, we have a lot of power in that. Instead of rejecting it, I'm happy to embrace it.
The divine feminine is the feminine energy of the universe and the soul of a person, which the feminine energy of the universe either exists within her. The natural energy of the planet is a feminine energy. It's nurturing.
Good morning, guys in the chat. Good morning.
To life.
Please subscribe
So when
as you
hear the
come
word
in.
divine feminine, what do you think of? For many people, they think of feminine energy, your femininity, the feminine movement, right? The bags, the soft life, the luxury, a high value man walking in your power, being a high value woman, and all of that, right? But it's so much more esoteric than that and so much deeper. And today, for once and for all, because I did a video that explained why I left the femininity movement, but this one, which I have pinned in the comments, but this one is definitely the origins of the femininity movement, the whole femininity movement, and the divine feminine, which many of you guys don't know. We're going to get into all of this, but first, hey friend, welcome to my channel, Creating Elemental Gems. This channel is dedicated to leveling up in all areas of your life. So let us learn together, read together, but most importantly, grow together. Now, without further ado, let's get into this video. So first, what is the divine feminine? The divine feminine is not one single idea. It is a cluster of religious, philosophical, mythological, and modern spiritual concepts that have evolved over thousands of years. What is the divine feminine? At its core, the divine feminine refers to the belief that feminine qualities such as creation, intuition, compassion, nurture, fertility, wisdom, and cyclical renewal like the period, menstruation, are expressions of the divine. Depending on the tradition, it can mean a female deity, goddess worship, a female aspect of God, a cosmic feminine principle that balances a masculine one.
And this is educational purposes only, guys. Thank you. Let us continue.
Symbolic archetype, not a literal being, a psychological or spiritual energy within human beings. So, why celebrities promote the divine feminine? That's what we're going to talk about, because you will see a lot of them talk about it. Specifically, the one that could come to the top of my mind is like Katy Perry, right? Especially when they did that mission space, that staged situation they did to show like they went to space. She was talking about Mother Earth and stuff like that, and the divine feminine, right? So it offers spirituality without moral constraint. Divine feminine spirituality has no sin category, no repentance, no submission to authority, no final judgment. And we know how celebrities love that, how alchemists love that, how Christian mystics and mystics love that. So no sin, no accountability, free for all. So they love that. For celebrity culture, this is appealing spiritual language without accountability, sacredness without obedience. So this is why celebrities tend to feel like they could do anything and get away with it because there is no accountability morally, especially in the concept of the divine feminine. For them, there's no accountability, right? It aligns with branding and aesthetic identity. So the divine feminine is visually marketable, emphasizes beauty, luxury, sensuality, and turns spirituality into an aesthetic, right? This fits influencer culture perfectly. Spirituality becomes a lifestyle, not a faith. We already know that it's look at the femininity level up movement right now, right? So we see how that fits so perfectly. The aesthetics of it is very appealing because even a lot of Christians, we fell for it. I fell for it. I was promoting it. And you didn't even know what you were in or what you're promoting. It's very, very aesthetic and appealing. Many celebrities use divine feminine language to sacralize sexuality, reframe desire as divine expression, and blur empowerment with spiritual authority. So let's break that down. Sacralizing sexuality. They turn sexuality as something sacred, right? And yeah, you have some in the world of mysticism and religion. You have that where like tantric sex or sex magic, etc. I did a video on sex magic already. You'll get into that from the divine feminine because we're gonna see Ishtar when we get into the occult of it. All sex magic leads back to Ishtar. They sacralize sexuality and turn it into something sacred, right? And reframe desire as divine expression. We know the Bible tells us that the desire of our hearts is wicked. We must get rid of or deny the desires of the flesh and the desires that are wicked, right? But this says the desires of the flesh are divine expression. It's not nothing to be ashamed of. That's why these people sexually are so fluid. Like you could think of, for instance, Diddy. Diddy even has the tattoo of Ezeli Del Toro on his back, right? We already talked about that. But someone like Diddy, R. Kelly, like you could think of Harvey Weinstein, Epstein, all of those people, they would fall into that. You'll see they'll get into anything sexually because the desire of your flesh is a sacred expression. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And commoners, those who just don't have that kind of sacred wisdom, won't understand the desires of the flesh. And it reframes desire as divine expression. It blurs empowerment with spiritual authority. This has roots in Tantra, occult sexuality, alchemical symbolism, right? So check out my alchemy video. Christianity, by contrast, separates holiness from self-exaltation. Hollywood spreads. This is all of this. You're going to see the darkness of the divine feminine. We're going to get really deep into it. That's why it's like, hey, this video is intense. All right, it's beyond what you think. But Hollywood has promoted that culture of lack of morality. There's a movie, I forgot the name of it, but I did save the clip to share for this because this is how it was placed in movies right before our eyes, even in the golden age of Hollywood. Debbie Reynolds was starring in it and she was a teen, and this rich fellow,
Pardon me, guys, one momento, because we have a character, Stanley Jones 1527. Let me click on his thing and see how many subscribers he have. He says, "Get a job, please." How do you know I don't have a job? If I'm educated with a bachelor's degree and work corporate and federal, how do you know I don't have a job, Stanley? Since you want to disturb class first thing this morning. We're waiting because you're being disrespectful to my all-in subbies that are tuning in for whatever reason, for educational purposes or however, or informational purposes. You don't want to go here with me. Because as soon as I end this live, I can go on another device and be careful. Just all I'm going to say. And I'm going to continue right now. So you can leave out of my classroom, please, and never return to my page. And stop being ignorant first thing this morning. Hold on, guys. Let's see. Let's check his page out really quickly. Let's see here. Oh, he has no subscribers, fake page. I'm not going to waste my time with him. Let's continue, guys. And see, this is the energy that you have to ignore and kick out the door. Kick rocks. Let's continue, guys. My apologies for the ignorant.
Literally brought this rich executive in Hollywood, Debbie Reynolds, as a gift.
Said he'd like to talk to some of these 16, 17-year-old kids we pick up. I'll go down and get his present. We got her handcuffed to the steering wheel.
We want to make sure she's comfortable. Detective Sergeant Maisel. I'm Sam Halen's buddy.
Oh, how's Sam?
Still Sam.
Sam just went downstairs. Got a Christmas present for you in the car. Just what you need.
Christmas present for me?
Sam shouldn't have done that.
And just one more thing, guys, because I don't dwell on negative energy. Mr. Stanley Jones, with your fake page and your fake name with no subscribers. This is why YouTube is going to get rid of people like you, okay? Now, I do have a BMW that's paid off. My home is paid off. What do you have? Are you living in your mother's basement? Let's continue, guys. Sorry.
That?
No, we didn't get anyone for him. Hollywood Home for Wayward Girls.
Hollywood Home for Virgil. Is Mark there? This is not one of those Hollywood buffet dinners. We're sitting down promptly at 8.
Well, put in a good word for me with the assistant butler. Hello, Sam.
Mark, meet Susan Landis.
Where is she?
Take it easy, kid. I had to tell her my grandmother lived here. It's the only way I could get her out of the car.
You liar.
Remember that time at the studio we were talking about girls?
He's giving it to you for Christmas.
I knew this was a frame-up. Nobody's given me to anybody for Christmas or New Year's or any other time. Oh, no, not the I'm going to get you in the movies routine. Are you the boss here, mister?
Well, I've got my name on the lease, if that's what you mean.
Well, do I get out or don't I?
You sure do, honey. You and me both. Come on. Who knows from her mother? She took a powder, ran off with some guy. That's all we can get out of the kid.
So, she's a juvenile delinquent. No folks, no relatives.
Susan, how old are you?
17.
See you boys later.
She'll be 18 next June. It's only 6 months. Sam figured you'd take her in so we could say we didn't pick her up until the day after Christmas.
I'll let Maud take care of her. Oh, gee, thanks, Mark. Susie, you're going to have a nice Christmas. Now, you be a good girl and don't make any trouble for Maud, you hear? Pick you up the day after tomorrow.
Remember, you guys, she's underage.
They offered her as a y'all see this, right? She's underage, she's this, she's that. So the whole concept of Epstein, this happening, and all these popular people, because it wasn't just celebrities that was on the island. They had philosophers, they had scientists, they had archaeologists, they had just people that were world renowned in their fields, all on that island.
And guys, this is not just about celebrities. It's about your everyday average people. You have to be careful and observant of people because everybody is not like you. Some people are just plain out evil. Let's continue.
They had royalty, they had political figures, all of those people on that island. So then you ask, okay, it's beyond just celebrities that was there. Let's be for real. Because to them, it's sex is a sacred worship. Right? It's a sacred worship. So there's nothing wrong with this. And so let's talk about the origin with ancient goddess cultures and sacred feminine power, right?
The creator. The creator archetype is about where everything begins. Before rules, before gods, before structure, there is the force that brings existence into being. This is the divine feminine as origin, not caretaker. She doesn't manage creation, she starts it. Mythologically, you see this archetype in figures like Gaia, who gives birth to the gods themselves, or Aditi, the infinite mother of all celestial beings, or Shakti, the raw energy that makes the universe move at all. Creator isn't always kind, and she isn't meant to be. Creation always disrupts something. Something old has to break for something new to exist. That's why many cultures respected the creator, but also feared her. She represents power without apology. The Earth Mother. The Earth Mother archetype is about life that is already here. If the creator brings the universe into existence, the Earth Mother is the one who sustains it. She represents the ground beneath our feet, the land that feeds us, and the natural cycles that keep life going. This archetype is deeply connected to nature, soil, plants, animals, seasons, and harvest.
Did you guys catch that? This is not a game. It's not a game, and it should not be taken for a game. Just pay attention, get what you need to out of it, and move on. Let's continue.
That's why she's often associated with farming, planting, and harvest. When humans learned to work with the land instead of fighting it, this archetype became sacred. In mythology, this archetype appears as figures like Pachamama, Allah, Terra, and Demeter in her agricultural aspect. Unlike the creator, the Earth Mother is not chaotic. She is steady, patient, and dependable. But that doesn't mean she's weak. When balance is ignored, she responds with droughts, floods, famine, and collapse. The nurturer. The nurturer archetype is the divine feminine as care, protection, and emotional safety. When people imagine a loving presence, this is usually what they're thinking of. This archetype shows up most clearly in motherhood. In religion and mythology, this archetype appears in figures like Mary, Isis, Demeter, and Yamoja. These figures are known for mercy, compassion, and intercession. Mary, in particular, embodies the nurturer almost perfectly. She is portrayed as gentle, obedient, and endlessly compassionate. The destroyer. The destroyer archetype is the most misunderstood aspect of the divine feminine. People hear destruction and think evil, violence, or chaos. But this archetype isn't about cruelty. It's about ending what can no longer continue. The destroyer exists because nothing can grow forever. When something becomes stagnant, corrupted, or false, it has to break. And this archetype is the force that makes sure it does. She represents death, endings, collapse, and transformation, not as punishment, but as necessity. In mythology, you see this archetype in figures like Kali, who destroys ego and illusion, or Kotlakli, who embodies life, death, and rebirth all at once. The lover archetype is the divine feminine, as desire, attraction, and creative energy. This archetype isn't just about romance or sex. It's about passion, inspiration, beauty, and the urge to create. Art, music, love, and even curiosity come from this energy. In mythology, the lover appears in figures like Aphrodite and Ocean, who influence the world not through force, but through magnetism and charm. The lesson of the lover is simple. Desire is not weakness. It's a life force. The witch or seer archetype represents the divine feminine as intuition, inner knowing, and hidden wisdom. She doesn't rely on authority or rules. Her knowledge comes from experience, instinct, and deep awareness. In mythology, this archetype...
Hi, Paul. Grand Rising. Just pay attention, okay? Thank you. Please subscribe.
Type appears in figures like Hecate and Isis, often associated with crossroads, magic, and the unseen world. The queen archetype represents the divine feminine as authority, order, and self-rule. This is the energy of leadership, dignity, and inner stability. Her power comes from knowing who she is and standing firmly in that position. The queen doesn't dominate, she governs. In mythology, this archetype appears in figures like Hera and Asherah, and symbolically in Mary as Queen of Heaven. These figures represent feminine authority expressed through order and presence. The warrior archetype represents the divine feminine as strength, boundaries, and defense. This is the energy that rises when something valuable needs protection. In mythology, this archetype appears in figures like Sekhmet, Durga, and Oya, feminine forces that fight not for conquest, but for balance.
What happened along the way, Joe, to this reverence that in primitive societies was directed toward the goddess figure, the great goddess, the Mother Earth?
That comes in primarily with agriculture and the agricultural societies. The human woman does give birth as the earth gives birth to the plants. She gives nourishment as the plants do. So woman magic and earth magic are the same. They are related. And the personification then of this energy which gives birth to forms and nourishes forms is properly female. So it is in the agricultural world of ancient Mesopotamia, Egyptian Nile, but also in the earlier planting culture systems that the goddess is the mythic form that is dominant. And when you have a goddess as the creator, it's her own very body that is the universe. She is identical with the universe. And in Egypt, you have the Mother Heavens, Nut, the goddess Nut, who's represented as the whole heavenly sphere.
So it would be natural for people trying to explain the wonders of the universe to look to the female figure as the explanation for what they saw in their own lives.
Not only that, but then when you move to a philosophical point of view, the female
One thing's for sure, respectfully, females are more detailed than men. Let's continue.
Represents what in Kantian terminology, we call them the forms of sensibility. The female represents time and space itself. She is time and space. And the mystery beyond her is beyond pairs of opposites. So it isn't male and it isn't female. It neither is nor isn't. But everything is within her, so that the gods are her children. Everything you can think of, everything you can see, is the production of the goddess.
First Enoch tells how the Jews worship the Queen of Heaven. Images portray her as an angelic-like figure with wings. Deuteronomy forbade even looking up to the heavens, lest people worship these angels. And some believe it was because of the abandonment of the divine feminine that Jerusalem was lost. After the destruction of the Essenes, these same Josiah priests, if you will, were responsible for rewriting Hebrew history and calling the Essenes heretics. In fact, all those who remembered the Ascension Wisdom Tree teachings were labeled as heretics. We can begin to recover this spiritual tradition and early...
Felt physically sick. I don't know how else to describe it. And it's just so heartbreaking. When you read the word, right? They take the biblical stories and they twist and glamorize the old gods, right? But one thing that he stated that I want you guys to get to, he named all the deities and said, hey, they're all the same, just different names. If that's one thing I want you to get from this, if you see my Greek gods video, my Babylonian gods videos, just the playlist is pinned in the comments with all these videos.
She's absolutely right, literally. They're all the same, just different names, different agendas. Let's continue.
As you will see, they're all Lucifer in different fonts. That's all you're gonna get to. So all of the divine beings you're gonna talk about, Sophia, Gaia, Asherah, Ishtar, they're all Lucifer. They're all Lucifer, okay? And we know Lucifer is a title, not a name, but that's all Satan, the deceiver, just different names. They know this. They have the same traits, purpose, serve the same purpose, but comes in different fonts depending on what culture you're from, depending on what you want to.
It's almost like all so-called religions leads back to the one true creator. Let's continue.
Ascribe imagery you want to ascribe to that deity, but they all essentially are the same deceiver. Okay, so they know that because this is, I want you guys to hear from their own mouths. All right, not just Korean speaking. So you come on here and say, I don't know what I'm talking about. I want you guys to see from their own mouths. They know this. They say that Jerusalem fell because they removed the divine feminine, when the Bible is clear that Jerusalem fell because Israel refused to stop worshiping these false gods and idols. So no, Jerusalem did not fall because they removed the divine, quote unquote, feminine. That's just blasphemy, all right? Solomon was also used as an example when Yah was very angry with Solomon for falling for Asherah and these foreign deities. Solomon himself was grieved that he turned from Yah, who was the source of his wisdom, and called these things vanity. His repentance is seen through his later writings, particularly the book of Ecclesiastes, acknowledging his folly and turning back to Yahuwah in wisdom. And in 2 Chronicles chapter 6, where he offers a public prayer for the nation's sins and restoration, seeking Yah's forgiveness and guidance after his kingdom faced consequences for his idolatry in 1 Kings chapter 11. But you're going to see how occultists twist this. They love to use Solomon, but they...
Hey guys, I want to tell you this. Do you guys know that the book of AKALINE, that's the only book in the Bible that really scares me, and that shouldn't be the book. It should be the book of Revelations. And the reason why is I don't like the part where it says, I respect it in any culture, or however you want to call it, religion, but it says there's a time to cry, it's a time to laugh. There's a time for peace, there's a time for war. There's a time for death, there's a time to live. That part right there, guys, is very, very, very deep. I suggest you read the book. Let's continue.
They don't love to use him in Ecclesiastes. They don't love to talk about his repentance. They just love to talk about the time that he actually went into mixing with these foreign women, because Yahuwah didn't want Israel mixing at all. But Solomon, of course, with the lust that he had, he was perverted by lust, went after these women, and I dated him as he's become the symbol of the occult, the prime example of the occult. He is the reason why you'll see Satanists and occultists and pagans, witches, etc., claim that the Bible is a spell book and try to use the Bible as that. And I did a video already debunking about the Bible having witchcraft in it, which is also in this playlist pinned if you haven't checked that, because that is something you're going to see amongst circles that they do a lot. And I grew up around this syncretistic belief where people that were practicing the voodoo religion use the Bible a lot. And it's not, guys, the Father is not happy with that. He's not pleased with that. And it's all
He
about
sure is
ascension
not,
and
like it or
becoming
not.
God.
And we're not in control. He's in control. Let's continue.
God. That's all the divine feminine is becoming God again, ascending to something beyond. And they want to bring it back up. So you'll see whether through YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, you see a lot of people talk about the feminine rising and the feminine is coming back. They want to bring her worship back. And this is going to provoke the Father so much and is leading to the end time because we do see a surge and these things rising back. And there's a lot of quote unquote Christians and people that read their Bibles that really don't know that this sector and these things exist. This is what's going on, but everywhere this is making a rise. People are wearing the symbolisms, the necklace, the jewelry, and the women are talking that way. They're embodying this demon and calling it feminine energy. And there's even a guy that was threatening people on TikTok to not talk bad about the divine feminine. If you talk bad about her, you better apologize now or else things are going to go bad for you. All right, sir. All right, sir. Ah, man, these people are so lost. I just don't know. The next clip you're about to see is blasphemy, of course, because this man, he's just another one. You will see him in every foolish, every video we do here in Foolish Doctrine. You would see him pop up because he's an evangelist for deception. And he is going to say that the male deity you guys are worshiping is Zeus and it's the false one. Da, 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 da. And if you see my syncretism and Hellenization video and, you know, all of those things, hey, there is some truth to what he's saying in the sense that I told you guys why I stray from the doctrines of Christianity. I'm just a follower of the Bible in a way because there's been a lot of Hellenization and syncretism in it. For real, where a lot of people are worshiping Baal and they don't even know it. They're not aware of it. They're worshiping demons and they're following. Look, Christmas just happened. We just had Christmas. I don't want to be that weird person when people are just saying Happy Merry Christmas to me all the time. I'm like, stop it, you know. Like I think by now the internet, there's just too much information for you to not know that this is a pagan holiday. And if you still choose to, that's just you.
Literally.
I'm not going to give a speech
Way
to
too much
anybody.
information out here
I'll
now.
tell people stay safe when they say Merry Christmas. Stay safe. May y'all bless you. But there's just too much knowledge out here now for people to be willfully unaware. But if you are a Bible believer and a follower of the way, you have no business. You have absolutely zero business celebrating Christmas. But we talked about that in my Hellenization and syncretism video. So
I digress. That's an opinion, but let's continue.
I'm going to go back into that. But when these occultists talk like that, and I made you hear in that video, them saying with their mouth, they created this. It's Odin. It's their deity. And then you can always trace it all back to Zeus if you see my Greek gods video, for real. It's not biblical. They saying it out of their mouths, like they laugh at Christians. They can't take y'all serious. They can't. So you're going to see this. That's why sometimes they talk like that. What can you say?
It doesn't matter whether who takes who seriously or not. We're not to judge.
That's embarrassing.
And all. And the coming of the whole, that clan was to suppress the divine feminine. And that time is over now. You see what I'm saying? And that's why you catching hell now, because you praying to something that ain't in balance. You see, ain't nothing in the Hebrew faith that exalt It's the one that everybody else get, the masses get, that exhaust that. That woman ain't nothing in there but obedient to her husband, bread making, and if she ain't that, she's a doggone hoe. But she don't share the spotlight with the so-called patriarch. I'm gonna show you something here that's really messed up about this. Right now, if he go to a white fake isn't really Jew, he was laughing. He said, that nigga there's silly. That nigga don't know what time it is. Because ultimately, in the hierarchy,
Disclaimer, guys.
the goddesses share equal billing.
I hate it when they talk like this. So let's move on.
Different forms, feminine forms, which are very powerful. For example, now if you say Kali, Kali is not just an idol. Many yogis and mystics work to create a certain energy form which functions in a certain way. Certain occult temples are created for a certain form, and you can call forth that form and do variety of things. She will respond to a particular kind of appeal. If one knows how to do the necessary appeal, she will respond to them in a big way. Everywhere, goddess worship was the most prominent thing. Till these monotheistic religions came up, all the crusades and inquisitions were mainly against people who are goddess worshippers. They went against all goddess worship and went about burning up all the temples, because in Arabia all the temples were wooden temples and they just burnt many. They just tried to completely, banish the feminine goddess from the planet. But in India she lived and she continues to live. One crucial point they held against this Devi worship or goddess, they said they're doing devil's work. Because
take the Adam and Eve story as we get it from Genesis, because they believe in Lilith. They believe that Adam had a first wife that didn't want to sleep with him, which was Lilith, that turned into a demon. When we do a video on the Kabbalah, we're going to get into all of that. But for us, believers of the way, we understand that this is not how the Bible created it for women. But we're going to get into that part in a little bit.
They told you Jezebel was a warning, but they never told you why they feared her. They told you Jezebel was evil, a seductress, a schemer, a woman to be feared. Jezebel wasn't just some wicked woman in the Bible. She was royalty.
Jezebel is a schemer. Wow, I never heard a woman call, or yeah, Jezebel. Jezebel is a woman, a lustful one at that, guys. This is what gets you guys in trouble. The lustfulness of a woman. Stop doing that. Let's continue.
High priestess, a daughter of the goddess. Jezebel was a queen, a woman of her own land, her own gods, her own power. She came from Phoenicia, where women still held sacred power, an initiate of the sacred feminine mysteries, where they worshiped the divine feminine. She worshiped the divine through the womb, the earth, the stars, not through a temple built by men. She honored Asherah, Astarte, the ancient mother goddesses, long before Yahweh demanded their silence. She didn't submit. She didn't bow. She stood beside kings, not beneath them. And for that, the prophets of patriarchy called her dangerous. Jezebel didn't fall. She was pushed because she dared to speak, dared to lead, dared to hold power in a world that said women shouldn't. She challenged the prophets of patriarchy, and for that, they made her a villain, twisted her name into an insult and a curse, and erased the truth. That Jezebel was sovereign. They didn't fear her sin. They feared her sight, because a woman who remembers her lineage, who defends her spiritual tradition, who refuses to bow to systems that erase her, that woman is dangerous, not because she's wicked, but because she's free. So the next time they call you Jezebel, smile. Don't flinch. That name still holds fire, because maybe you, too, are a woman unbothered by their rules, unapologetic in your magic, and unafraid to burn bright in a world that tries to dim women like
the Virgin Mary was the feminine aspect of God. She was the mother of God. And the Virgin Mary to them, they saw as their patron saint. So within the building, you see a lot of things that are not so subtle once you see them now, These two towers represent a woman with her legs up in the birth-giving position.
Guys,
And you can
keep
even
in mind,
see
this
the
is
depiction of the
AKALINE,
female
so this
genitalia
is
here.
Earth.
So
This is
you see the rose
AKALINE and
window,
Earth, so
and
this
then
is
below
why
that you
I'm
see the
bringing
entrance
this
to the
forward
birth
to
canal.
you.
You see the clitoris, you
Earth
see the
is
infant, and directly
AKALINE.
into the birth canal. Now, when one would go into the cathedral, they would go in to hear the nurturing words of the clergy, just as one might hear nurturing words from their mother. And they would walk out of the church to be born again from the womb of God.
What if Mary Magdalene wasn't just a follower of Christ, but something far
That's
greater?
a nice picture.
Some ancient texts hint that she wasn't just his closest disciple, but the embodiment of Sophia. In mainstream Christianity, Mary Magdalene is often reduced to a sinner, a follower, or, at best, the first witness to the resurrection. But in Gnostic texts, her role is radically different. She's a teacher, a revealer of hidden wisdom, and possibly the one who understood Christ's true message better than anyone else. Scholars believe this suggests Mary Magdalene wasn't just close to Jesus. She was his most advanced student, the one who truly grasped the path to gnosis. Some Gnostic traditions hint that Mary Magdalene might be a manifestation of Sophia, the divine feminine wisdom. If Mary Magdalene was really this important, why was her role the suppression of Sophia? The suppression of the divine feminine and the loss of esoteric knowledge all go hand in hand. The version of Christianity that survived was the one that erased feminine wisdom, mystery, and direct spiritual experience in favor of rigid hierarchy and dogma.
In the Gnostic texts like the Apocryphon of John, Sophia represents divine wisdom, yet she still acts without consent from the higher god, and goes on to create Yaldabaoth, a flawed, monstrous being with a snake's body and a lion. Pass Yaldabaoth out of the divine realm, and into a void. It is here that Yaldabaoth then forms the material world, having obtained a part of Sophia's essence. As he's ignorant of the higher divine realms, he believes himself to be the one true god. Later, Sophia, regretful of her actions, secretly steals back her divine essence by tricking Yaldabaoth into divulging it to Adam, the first man. Humanity thus gained the divine essence, setting the Gnostic stage for redemption through spiritual knowledge, and the return.
Humanity is AKALINE also, guys. Know what AKALINE stands for. Let's continue.
To the divine.
Sophia's longing to understand the unknowable monad led her to produce an imperfect creation, marking her fall. This resulted in the birth of the demiurge, a lower deity responsible for fashioning the material world. For many Gnostics, humanity's inner divine spark derives from Sophia, trapped within the confines of the physical realm.
Optician Schonfield worked on translating the Dead Sea Scrolls as an expert on a Jewish cipher called the Atbash cipher. He claimed that when one applied the same cipher to the word Baphomet, it transposed into the Greek word Sophia, which means knowledge or
Gnosis literally means knowledge, in the context of a spiritual knowledge or divine insight, emerging directly from the inside, such as an inner voice, a gut feeling, or conscience, not dependent on any data from one's outside environment. The Knights Templars likely acquired their secrets of Gnosis, or internal alchemy, and the Kabbalah from several different sources during their nearly 200 years in the Middle East. The stated goal of these sacred and guarded practices is nothing less than to literally evolve the person's consciousness and being into a higher state of existence. This would include the attainment of certain mystical abilities, such as clairvoyance, heightened intuition, astral vision, etc. In his book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, honorary 33rd degree Freemason Manly P. Hall says that, and I quote, "While the greatest minds of the Jewish and Christian worlds have realized that the Bible is a book of allegories, few seem to have taken the trouble to investigate its symbols and parables."
Very
Right,
true.
right. Mary's not a virgin right now, okay? She had other kids. She didn't stay a virgin. She had other kids, so she laid down with Joseph. Joseph just didn't go, never. I forgot her name. These names are just escaping me. But y'all know the one, I'll put her picture here. She's a black woman, but she does spells and witches. Like, she's a proud witch. Okay, she's a proud witch. But this is who they were getting their advice from, getting all that, and they entered into this. And it's like there's consequences to these things. There's consequences. Even Wizard Liz herself got played. Now she's a baby mama. But this is who women are taking advice from, right? But the beauty rituals is symbolic of the Ishtar worship because there was rituals before these women would go into Ishtar's temple and give themselves up to people to be students, basically. There were rituals, they did beauty rituals. While some of this is psychological or lifestyle based, it often borrows spiritual language, awakening, energy alignment, sacred feminine power, goddess consciousness, right? Critics argue this spiritualizes consumerism. Let's pause on that. So now consumerism is spiritualized. If you're in the femininity movement, you got to buy, there's a new look for every season. I remember the old money aesthetic, the soft girl aesthetic. It was the time everybody had ribbons in their hair,
Right.
the bows in their hair. There's a look, the Chanel bag. There's a specific look, or else you're not doing it right.
Right.
You're not in the level up right. There's a neutral tone color.
Level up, guys.
Wear certain bags, certain shoes, the way you gotta pose your pictures. Your pictures gotta be clean. Your hair gotta be laid a certain way. There was a whole look attached to that. And it promoted consumerism because of these beauty rituals. Now you're spending more money on these rituals to look the part, to be in that movement. And it's sacred, it's self-care. It's that self-care movement. And there's, again, Koreans not saying not to care for yourself. I don't want y'all to twist my words. If you've seen my hedonism, my Greek philosophies video, I talked about that. So it's the same concept. We talked about femininity as well. It's in this playlist. I'm not saying to not groom yourself, to not look good. I take care of myself. All right? I take care of myself. I do my skincare. I do all that. But it's all about the excess and intentions behind it. All right? What is your intentions behind it? So I can go manipulate and get a man because I just value myself and care for myself.
I'm going to pause right there. That was a very strong. What are your intentions, guys? When you put your makeup on, your seductive clothing, men, when you put your smell good on, your teeth are pearly white, your eyes are glistening. What is the purpose of it? I know this is a lot for you guys to take in. There was a lot of words used that I'm sure you guys are going to Google or have to look up. I preferably ask you to use a dictionary, okay? One back in the 80s where the word change had not begun, so that you can get the master concept to what she was saying with all of this. Basically, you could give your body self up for entity to be used by that entity in wrong ways, and that you don't want to get caught up in. And this is what most of society has become, in my opinion, and in all facts too. So I brought this to you guys for educational purposes only, again, and it is what it is, and this is where we're at. And I ask that you guys take heed. You may shy away from it now, you may click off of it, but someday you're going to remember that you saw a briefing of this video as of many, okay? So let's just go here and then we'll end it.
Base. And also for women that didn't grow up with their mothers. Like I stated, my mother passed. I didn't have like that strong female figure to teach me the ins and outs of womanhood. And I wanted to be that for women as well in this space. And then empower them to not be what is reflected out there.
Well, this is why, guys, a lot of people are being what they are, because they're being what's being reflected out in the world. Be ye not of the world. Do not conform to the world, because that's just a false reality. You have to be conformed within yourself as a person. And I'll leave you with that. All in AKALINE Lifestyle. Please do subscribe. Have a great day. Thank you.